Matthew, I just realized the last question, I don't know if it's going to be a quick one or not, but I never asked you how you came up with the name Exhibit A.
I sort of love that question because it's, well, I will say that sometimes the story is, if I tell the story, it changes a little bit here and there. Kelsey tells the story really well. So let's just say, for argument's sake, it came out of thin air, right? So I was talking with my partner. We're talking about ideas, beer names, and I said something about, he said something, oh, you're always on display. You know, you've worked in brew pubs behind the glass on the brew house. You've worked in, other breweries that have like, you can't see it, but there's a glass window in front of me looking in the tap room. So whenever you're in there, actually, they just turned on the mill, so I'm going to walk this way.
Sure.
And so, and now we're in the tap room. Oh, it's like 10 degrees cooler in here. So I'm going to stand way back. Sorry. And so, so the story goes that Exhibit A is sort of more mentioned. It's kind of an idea about being on display and being, a brewer on display, if you will. So it became really interesting for us to figure out what that means for our branding. And for me, immediately, it was like, well, we're not a law office, but a scale would be cool. And I did have this idea for a scale because my wife's a Libra, and I love the idea of a scale because of balance and also imbalance. And I have a little bit of imbalance just being a Gemini and being a wacky dude. And so I thought the scale would be a really interesting fit for a brewery. Originally, the scale was like this kind of natural looking. It had vines growing all over it. And Kelsey, when I hired him, he was like, cool, the scale's cool, but I can't use it. I don't love what it's going to do when I go to print it on glassware, or when I put it on a coaster and then a t-shirt and a banner and all these different things that we're going to be doing with it. And it's too detailed for the can because it has to be, and you can see if I point over here, that's an article on our Kolsch being rated as a perfect Kolsch by Craft Beer and Brew Magazine, which was pretty cool. But so the scale needed to be simplified. So Kelsey did that. And immediately I was like, oh, it looks like a law office. That's actually kind of funny. And I like that. And there's something about it that's very un-beery and un-brewery-like. And it felt very natural and very real for me right at that moment. And so I didn't look back. I was like, okay, fine. The scale's done. Exhibit A is the name. I've got these other beer names. Like, what do we do with that? Goody Two Shoes, right? Innocence. I knew that, And so it just kind of flowed that way. And so it was really nice. My partner actually came up with Exhibit A because he said the word exhibit. And I was like, I don't know, exhibit. It sounds like a rapper. I don't know what exhibit is. Well, you're always on exhibit. You're an exhibit. Your beer is your art, and you're there as the producer doing it. So I kind of like the idea of the fun sort of storytelling piece of it. Mm-hmm. And we tied in this whole like number 42, which is the Douglas Adams reference to the answer to the ultimate question. So 42 shows up in all of our branding, which is sort of maybe unknown by most people, but it's something that we care a lot about. So there's like a 42 on every can. And it is, for 40-something-year-old people that read those, read Restaurant at the End of the Universe and Life of the Universe and everything as kids maybe, or as young adults. I love those stories, and I love Douglas Adams, so I just kind of thought it made sense for us. And it sort of just fell in line that way. Like Exhibit A, I liked the sound of it. I liked how it rolled off my tongue. I liked that there was this letter that was like this thing. And the people are like, what's the A stand for? And I'm like, it's like what was in the briefcase in Pulp Fiction. I don't know. Your own answer. There's something funny about that too for us, and something real about that, which is Exhibit A is said a lot. Like when they, whether it's on a document or in some kind of whatever, it's certainly in a courtroom. So we thought there were some fun references that we could use to, tell that story.